Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Jodi Fried, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Begins with Mom podcast. This is Jodi Fried, your host. One of the things that I myself as a woman, as a wife, as a mother is am craving and longing is, just to have more fun in my life and just to bring back the sense of adventure, which is one of the things that we need in order to thrive as women, as wives, and as mothers. And today on the show, I am chatting with Jodi Fried, who is a wife, who is a mom and mentor, who empowers mothers to build travel and adventure into their family lives, enabling enriching experiences for themselves and their families, enhancing balance in their own lives, and most of all, bringing moms towards the fulfillment they dream of. Her 4 kids keep her on her toes and in constant growth mode. At her core, Jodi is all about love, adventure, and of course, being a mother. So without further ado, help me welcoming Jodi to the show. Hi, Jodi. Welcome.
Hi, Dorit. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's going to be so much fun. When I first, heard about you and your work, I was truly intrigued. My personal story, as we connected before, it's kind of grim and sad when it comes to adventure and fun. So I'm very excited, to dive deeper into this and learning from you. But before we do that, there's one question I ask all my guests, and that is, what are you loving about being a mom right now?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I have a little tiny baby. She's almost 3 months old. And so of course I love the baby snuggle time and just holding her in my arms. There's nothing like a newborn. So that's one thing, but I also am just relishing in how my older kids are just like absorbing so much. It's just they're constantly taking things in and constantly spitting things out and just really growing and learning from the world around them. And it's so fascinating, and just to see like the questions that they're asking and how they're relating to different situations, it's just unbelievable. So I'm definitely loving that.
That's amazing. I love that too. And there's, like you said, there's nothing like having a newborn, even though this is really, really tough. It's the hardest time, but it's also the most graceful time. And, just to look at them when they're sleeping and their smell, it is beautiful. So,
yeah. And in fact, I even have her on my boob right now, so hopefully
I love this. This is mamas getting things done. I love that. So before we continue unpacking this whole concept of bringing adventure back into our motherhood lives, can you share with the listeners a little bit of the backstory of how you started this, this business, this work? It's called Love Adventure Mom, which I love the name. How did this start?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So, just a little bit about me. I grew up in a very non-adventurous family, and I had never camped until I went to summer camp and was probably a teenager. I, didn't go on big hikes. We went on vacations and that was about it. And I did get a lot of value from those vacations. I have lasting memories that last me, till today. But we really did not live an adventurous life. And then in my 20s, I met my husband, and he is a New Yorker who moved to Boulder, Colorado to go for the climbing, for the rock climbing. And so as you can imagine, he had this whole side of him that I started to learn about. And it opened up a whole new world for me. I started climbing. I learned to ski at the age of 23, which is pretty old for learning how to ski, and it was hard. But I loved it, and I had been so afraid of the cold before I started skiing and before I moved to Colorado. And I just learned some key tips and strategies, like to dress for the cold. And that made all the difference. And I just started to love it. And I really started to appreciate God's creations and this world, this amazing world that offers us so much. And so as life went on, and as I got married and then had kids, I was really determined to not let that side of me and that side of our lives just fall by the wayside. I'd seen over and over from my friends and talking to, friends and family, I'd just been hearing so much about how moms had just given up this piece of them and felt so bad and just like they were missing a piece of themselves. And so I was determined to not let that happen to me. And so I took some steps to make sure to incorporate that into life with kids. And just now we have 4 kids, 4 beautiful children. And through it all, every single one of them, including my 3-month-old, has been on an airplane. She still has yet to go camping, but we've really made it a part of our life. And so when I realized how much value my family has got from adventure and from travel, I really just wanted to get that message out there that it is possible, and to help moms recognize that and make it a reality for themselves and for their family, because there isn't a reason why we need to start feeling down and just give up a piece of ourselves for motherhood. So it really can integrate very nicely and smoothly if we let it and if we're open to it.
Yeah. I love the story. It reminds me a lot of my own personal story. And like I said, my story with with adventure and travel, it's kind of grim. I also, like yourself, I come from a family of not adventure. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think my parents even had the time or the luxury to even think about that. They immigrated twice. And it was just not a priority. And so we kind of grew up in between, logistics, and life was pretty mundane and from task to task kind of thing. And so I didn't even think about adventure. I didn't even think to explore that. I didn't even know that I have that within me. And then, like yourself, I married my husband, and I can't say he's a huge adventurer, but he enjoyed things like camping or backpacking or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I experienced that with him, it was like, holy moly! It's so much fun. It's like you're exploring that new piece in yourself, right? So let me just tell you that I'm 34 and I still don't know how to ski or
and you live in Toronto.
And I live in Toronto. A lot of it is because of fear, and a lot of it is because I don't really I don't even know how to put that into words. It's sort of like I don't feel like I can do it, or it's for me. Why go through the hassle? It's stupid. Honestly, it's silly. It's silly, and I'm excited. One of the biggest benefits of having children is that you are getting sort of like a second chance in life to do and explore that with them, right? It's sort of like it's for them, but actually it's for you.
Absolutely, no, completely. And what you're saying, it's not silly at all. So many of us, even myself, who I do it all the time, so to speak, but we all are just so afraid. There's so much to be overwhelmed by. There's so many things that can go wrong. You know, there's so many reasons why, whether we go on a plane trip or a road trip or a camping trip, why we're going to feel like we're not successful. We're not going to have fun. We're not going to be able to enjoy it. So much of this and of integrating this into our lives as moms is just simple like mindset switches, you know, just learning to recognize that it's okay if things don't go exactly as planned, or allowing ourselves to be flexible, and just learning how to do that sometimes can make all the difference. But it's not silly at all, because I think we all struggle with that, you know?
Right. So, Jodi, let me ask you this. Why do you think it is important for women and mothers to pursue their passions and keep doing what makes them feel good?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as moms, we have so much responsibility. We have responsibility to our partners. We have responsibility to our children. We have responsibility a lot of times to extended family, even to friends. And so it's so important for us to also recognize that we need time and love and care, and we're worthy of our own energy. You know, it's self-care, and it's incredibly important, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then how can we really put our heart and soul and take care of others? And we do it all the time. We do it all the time. We don't take care of ourselves, and we put everything into other people. But I think that life is so much more valuable when we can do something for ourselves, not let ourselves go, and then we'll have more to give to others. And that's why it's so important to not let ourselves go, you know. And for so many people, this travel or adventure piece is sometimes the piece of themselves that they let go. And then they do feel this lack of fulfillment with life. Because in a lot of cases, it was such a big part of life beforehand. But again, like it's part of self-care. You know, self-care can be having a massage, or it can be having a ski day. So, you know, of course it's eating right. And it can be like enjoying some amazing bonding time with one's family. That's also self-care.
Yeah. Jodi, I love this so much, because this is very much in alignment with my mission here at Health Begins with Mom podcasts. Because here I'm all about encouraging mothers to take a really good care of themselves, because we are the backbones of our homes. If we are unhappy, if we're putting our lives on hold for the sake of our children, it's really important that we understand that they don't see that. Like, they don't see the sacrifice. They don't see us as working really, really hard to make it work. What they do see is their mom neglecting herself, putting herself on hold, suffering suffering quietly and sucking it up. You know, where instead what we need to do is really to be more creative, open, and resourceful.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great piece that is missing for a lot of us, me included. And yeah, like you said, it's there's a lot of sort of I think the word that I used was hassle. But it's true. It's really it's a mindset shift. So I'm excited to dig more into this with you. So can you tell us about maybe some of your own personal experience? What's the best part about adventuring with your kids and family?
There's so much. I think, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, one amazing part of it is that it causes me to work on myself. I have to, I think I've become a lot more patient. I've just developed all these qualities that, you know, are as I go through life, I'm going to, work on myself forever, I think. But that is, I think, a side benefit that I haven't really thought too much about before. But it's incredible to, again, just see what my kids absorb. I have a 5-year-old, and when she was 4, she was able to already like identify Hawaii on a map and Montana on a map and Oregon and South Africa, and even talk about these places. And I just couldn't believe how much she was actually like really taking in from our travels. So I love just the learning that can happen. And also, like when we go camping, she could practically set up a tent at 5 years old. It's like unbelievable. And yeah, so definitely the learning. And then the other amazing piece about it is the family bonding. It's just such an opportunity to grow closer as a family, to learn about each other, to develop hobbies together, and that could just be as simple as like taking strolls on the beach, so it really has offered my family a lot of opportunity, and it's beautiful to see the kids grow through these experiences. And I also, before we go further, I just want to clarify that I use the terms travel and adventure because I don't think they're always the same. Like, to me, when I think of travel, I'm more thinking of a plane trip to somewhere else, or perhaps a road trip within one state or to other states or countries. And adventure is camping, hiking, skiing. So I think it can all be combined under the term adventure, but it's not always so intuitive. So I just say travel and adventure a lot, and that's what I mean, just so that you can have a clear picture of what I'm talking about.
Thank you. One of the things that I can share from my personal experience, this last summer, we took the girls to a camping trip. It was just a 2-day trip. It was such a beautiful weather and such a beautiful place. It was local. We didn't fly anywhere because, I still have a baby. I don't feel good about flying. We can talk about that a little bit. I don't personally still have the mindset around flying with a baby. So anyways, I left the baby with my mom, and we took the older two. And I remember myself just sort of like putting all guards down and being able to just be peaceful and relaxed. And for them, I think it's so rare for them to see me like that. I mean, like their relationship, my husband is more like, he is, the fun guy in our family. I'm more like, I'm the logistics person. Like, they need to get out of the house at this time. They need, then there's a homework, there's the laundry, there's the food, meal planning. Like, it's all of that logistics becomes so constrictive sometimes to me too. But oftentimes I just forget that that's all that they see, right, from me. And so I think adventuring with them is sort of like, it's an opportunity for them to see the really me, the true me, right? and a lot of times I remember it's sort of like strange and weird to them. Like, why is mom so like accepting and saying yes to things? But it's important for us to help them to see that that other piece of our personalities, right?
It is. And it also helps them realize that there's a time and place for everything. In day-to-day life, it's not always appropriate to let them do everything that they want to do at 7:30 in the morning when you're trying to get them out of the house by 8 or even earlier. But when you're camping and when you've set aside this family time, then life is a little different, and that's okay. And that's something that's really great for them to realize too, is that there is a time and place for everything, and things don't have to be the same every single day. And a turning point for me in my mindset was when I had a 3-year-old and a like 1-year-old probably. And it was the summer. We went on a backpacking trip just for one night. It was a very short hike, a 2-mile hike to a lake. And so we were so excited about this, and we set out, and of course we ended up carrying both kids at like half a mile. But finally we got to our campsite, we set up camp, we get to the lake, and it's this big mud puddle. The water had dried up. It was towards the end of the summer, and it was just all this mud. And so my 2-year-old runs into the mud and plops herself down. And I thought, oh no, it was a backpacking trip. We had packed incredibly light. Like, I don't even know, we might have had one change of clothes. And she was covered in mud. And I had this moment where I took a deep breath. Of course, for my husband, it was no big deal.
Wait. I have to stop you. There is mud. Like, here's the clean freak in me is like starting to like get, all hyped up and crazy. So there is this mud. There is no water. Like, that you cannot wash her, and you're stuck with a muddy child.
I'm stuck with a muddy child. There is water. You just have to wade through the mud a little further to get to the water, because the bank had receded. And so I'm like, this is recipe for disaster. But I took a deep breath. I really did. And I thought to myself, okay, worst case scenario, the mud dries up tonight and we walk out tomorrow, and either way, she's going to be dirty, because like we're not showering out in the wilderness. But like, worst case scenario, she comes out super dirty. We let her clothes dry on a log. She wears the same muddy, dirty clothes, but they'll be dry tomorrow. And we'll get to the car and we'll be okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. And I had this realization that she's a kid. She's having fun. She's enjoying this time outside. She's loving the attention from my husband and I. And maybe it's not all that bad, It's like she's learning about this texture. She's learning about this stuff. And so I decided to embrace it. And that was a turning point for me, and just recognizing that things don't have to be perfect all the time. Like, she doesn't have to always be clean. This is a time where she can be dirty, and it's totally fine. There was maybe one other, group at the lake that night. Like, no one's going to see her. No one's going to care. Even the people who do see her aren't going to care. We'll go home. We'll have a nice bath, and we'll have amazing memories of this time of her running into the mud. And that was really cool.
I love this story. You know why I love this story, Jodi, so much? Because I personally think that parenthood and motherhood is such a great opportunity for us, if we're open to it, to let go of the control and to surrender to the imperfect rhythm of life. And what you did in that moment, which all started with a decision and a choice, right? Because we're going back to talking about mindset. It's really that. It's understanding that it's really your choice. It's how you are responding, how you are choosing to respond to this situation, which, for example, if that was me, I would have freaked out. And this is why I love this podcast, and I love meeting people like you. It's because it's such a great opportunity for me to learn as well, to let go. It's the hardest thing for me to do. I have to actually I don't know, sometimes it feels like I have to force myself almost to think in a certain way, because that's not natural to me.
Yeah.
But I love it so much. It's so true. And when we are allowing ourselves to let go of control and just to kind of say, what's the worst? Like, so what? Oh, what the heck, right? To just sort
Yeah.
of like to be more relaxed, more calm. That peace, that peacefulness is the best thing to raise, peaceful and calm children.
Yeah, I think so. And one of my mottos is, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, what is the worst case scenario? Because most of the time, it's not terrible. And also, just to speak to where you're at, it's so important to start in a place that feels right. Like those stretches of our minds, like how you're saying you have to sometimes force yourself to think in a certain way. It is important to do that sometimes because that helps us grow and learn. But to start where it feels right is really important. So like if plane travel is completely just not what you're comfortable with right now, not where you want to go, then great, start with something a little more accessible, like a camping trip, or even a 2-hour or a half-hour walk in a neighborhood park,
Yeah, that we do all the time. Like we sort of, the way I see it is, let's not set up ourselves for failure. Let's do, small things like for example, like you said, hike in the park, or we could go to like the pool, the local pool. Like we'll do things locally. But for me, to do things with all three of them, like I have to say, I still see it as a hassle. But let's go. Like, let me ask you this question. So, as you can see, there are so many obstacles in traveling with kids. Oh gosh, like, and beyond the actual obstacles, the tangible obstacles, right? Like the cost of travel, for example, and also, the hassle, like we spoke about. There is also the things that include mom guilt and things like, time and energy constraints and the logistics of just, schlepping kids with the strollers and the backpack and the bags, and like it's a hustle. It's a hustle for many of us. And then like, what do you do when you have a child with special needs, or you just don't feel like it is possible anymore? So, what do you do? Like, how can you overcome all of these hardships without having a terrible time?
Yeah. Well, as we've been talking about, a huge piece is about mindset, and a huge piece is about setting expectations. So, starting with those little steps of picking a travel adventure that is going to be a little bit, it's going to stretch you a little bit, but it's not completely foreign. Like if you've never been skiing, don't decide to just go skiing with 3 kids all of a sudden. Take a different route. So, and setting expectations is key. Like for me, I have to tell myself over and over, it's not going to go exactly as planned. We're going to have a plan, and that's going to serve as a guide. But when push comes to shove, things are going to happen that are going to take us off course. And it's so important to know that, to really, really internalize that before embarking on an adventure. Because that could make the difference. Like if you give yourself the permission to let things go differently than what you have planned, that's okay. The one time we went to Amsterdam, we were just there as a stopover to somewhere else, but we were there for 3 days, I think, or 2.5 days. And so we had these great plans that we're going to get there. It was the morning when our flight landed. We were going to get there. We were going to go out. And then, early evening, we would come back to the hotel and sleep. But as it happened, we had a journey that was just the kids were up, the whole time. And we didn't get any sleep. And so we decided that we were going to go and check into the hotel early and just sleep that first day. And in a way, it was a big bummer because we were looking so forward to exploring right away. But at the same time, we wouldn't have been able to be there for our family. and ourselves if we hadn't have got that rest. So setting expectations and giving yourself permission is really key. Something else that can really help a lot is packing light. This is something that's very difficult. It was very difficult for me. It still is, but it just takes a huge burden off when you're going from place to place, or even just going from an airport to a car rental to a hotel, or what have you. So packing light has been a huge lifesaver for me. And then preparing the kids for where you're going and what you're doing. And that could be through watching little TV shows about where you're going, or about travel, or whatever kind of adventure you're having. It can be letting them, finding coloring pages that are along the lines of what you're going to be doing, and just talking to them about it and having conversations about what it's going to be like. And in a similar way that you would prepare a child for the doctor, even though like this might be a much more exciting thing, like that is very important, because when the kids kind of have an idea, it's easier for them to adjust and adapt as well. And then another thing is to always make sure you have food that the kids like. So one of my principles when I travel is I pack as much healthy food as I think the kids will eat, but really I pack like those foods that aren't so unhealthy, but aren't so healthy either. Something like pretzels and hummus, like it's really important to have foods that your kids will eat. And that just helps them to, feel satiated and not go crazy a lot of the time. And one other tip that I would have is, and there's so many more, but this is just a little taster, is if you can, team up with friends. It's fun to go places with friends, and then you're kind of doing it all together. The kids have maybe other friends that they can play off of, and you have people to talk to, you have people to have fun with, and you can also do a little bit of tag teaming if you're able to pull that off, and if you have a friend group who's maybe interested in doing the same types of things that you are. So those are just some ways to handle the fear of having a terrible time and how to overcome that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. So I also wanted to ask you about, let's say, about travel costs. I know if I'm thinking this, I know a lot of listeners are thinking that too. Do you have some tips on how we can travel with the family on a budget?
Yeah, I do. So firstly, plane travel in a lot of cases is more expensive than traveling by road. So sometimes that can make a difference for people, is just, doing a camping trip or a road trip to different hotels in different places. There are a few actually programs for, just in terms of attractions, for museums. There's like I forgot what it's called, but where a lot of museums have reciprocal agreements with other museums throughout the world. One of the programs is called ASTC. And so if you have a membership, say, to a science museum in your city, then they might have reciprocation to science museums around the world. So sometimes you can get in touch with them and look up the list of what museums they work with, and you can pick destinations based on, or you can design a road trip based on, places to go along the way in different museums. So that's sometimes fun, and it's really good to know, and always to ask. So wherever you have memberships, ask if they work with any other museums, because that can make attractions much more affordable. And also points and miles is a huge one. So if you travel by plane and you're not subscribed to the frequent flyer program, you get on board with that, or if you go to hotels, even if you do like regular shopping, you can shop through certain portals and get cash back, which then you can apply to travel. And I can send you some links if you want, Dorit, to post like in the notes of the
podcast. Please. I would love to post some in
the
show notes.
I'll send you a few websites of portals that you can shop on with a credit card and then get cash back, and that can go towards travel, and that can be really valuable. But definitely being involved in or just signing up for your frequent flyer programs for whatever you use, whether it's hotels or airlines or car rentals, like that can save a lot of money in the long run. And making sure that your kids are too as well, because they can start earning points from whenever you buy a paid ticket. So yeah, those are some ideas for minimizing costs. So, picking lower cost vacations. So if you're a family that likes to camp, doesn't mind sleeping in a tent, that's an option. Also, the Forest Service has, at least in the States, I don't know about Canada, but in the States, the US Forest Service has cabins that you can rent. So, and they're very, very inexpensive. So you can, go drive off to a cabin in the middle of nowhere, but it has heat, it has a place to cook, it has beds. So sometimes you need to bring a sleeping bag, but it has mattresses and a few of the creature comforts. So that is a really nice option. And then if one really wants to, travel by plane and go to exotic destinations, I think points and these shopping portals are really great ways to earn some extra cash and some extra points that can apply towards fun vacations and trips.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. I think what I've learned today, what I'm walking away with today is basically, first of all, take a breath. Real girl. If it all comes down to if there is something you really, really want, there are ways to do them. It's all about really the mindset, and then asking for help and support from people who have done it before. So maybe they can give you some tips. And then coming up with a plan that will also be open to error, because obviously, like you said, we should have a plan, but also we should be open to, just life, and, not everything goes smoothly like we initially plan. And then just really remembering that nothing is an emergency. And at the end of the day, it's, whatever happens, and it's all about have fun and the family connection and the bonding, and really allowing this experience to just enliven you and help you to to feel like you are living again.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Before I let you go, I have a few questions I ask all my guests, and I'm curious to know what you're going to say. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so my first question is, the show is all about inspiring mothers to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. And I like to call it being a goddess in your life. And I'm curious to know, how are you being a goddess in your life? How do you take care of yourself, your soul, your body? What are some of your non-negotiables?
Okay. Whew. Wow. So I think one is knowing that I am a work in progress. I am not perfect. And just knowing that enables me to be a goddess, I think, because I don't have to feel so super bad every time I don't do something exactly right. Another is brushing my teeth. It's like a huge thing for me. It sounds so weird, but it's so refreshing, and like I make sure to brush my teeth all the time, because
especially with a newborn. I know, I remember.
Yeah. And then also just having downtime. Like at the end of the day, I usually watch a TV show right before bed that may or may not be be good as far as science goes, but it just feels good, feels right to me. So I give myself a little bit of downtime every day to zone out and do nothing.
I love that. Second question. What advice does your now mommy self would have given to your pre-mommy self?
Be flexible. It's not the end of the world, as I've said. And take time for yourself. It took me actually a while to realize the importance of self-care. And I'm still working on it, but that is so key. And I wish I would have known that more before I became a mom.
I'm curious, this is not one of the questions. I should have asked you this before. I'm curious, what is your take on traveling alone versus, let's say, like a grandparent or a nanny? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah. So it's always really nice to have help. When I travel, it's typically my husband and I, so there are two of us, but it's very rare that we've never had a nanny come along with us, and it's very, very rare that we've had a grandparents, only like if that happens by chance. And, it definitely makes things easier if you have that ability if you have the support to take someone along, then it would enable, more date nights, more time for you possibly to explore a new city at night, or just, go to a brewery or places where kids can't necessarily go. So it's definitely nice, but it's not always possible. So, it's definitely great to have extra support. And it's hard to travel just oneself. As I said, like with me, it's mostly my husband and I. It's not impossible to travel alone and to adventure alone. But it definitely makes it easier. And it also, to have somebody else, gives you someone to lean on.
Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. Back to the questions. Question number 3. I like to keep it real and show listeners that even though someone is an expert in one area, they might be struggling with other things. So what are some of your current challenges as a woman, wife, or a mother?
Getting enough sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Making dinner is one that I'm struggling with since probably having kid number 3. It's difficult to make healthy, easy dinners. And then, I don't know, getting the laundry done seems to be a current struggle.
I can relate to that, yeah.
Maybe I could learn a thing or two from you about just like easy meals and dinners to make and how to make that,
Yeah. I'm all about systems and sustainability. Like things, it's all about setting up systems and making sure that whatever you are working on is sustainable long term. So yeah, I totally relate to that. I can tell you, for example, for me, for laundry, I cannot do this the whole week. Like I know some people do laundry every evening. For me, that would be it would be a killer for me. So what I do, I decide that I'm going to do this on Sunday. And then I just do that the whole day on Sunday. I mean, I don't just sit and do laundry all day. I just make sure it gets done in between other things. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's hard. But then throughout and also I make sure I fold it and I put it away on the same very day. Huh. So then I have to deal with laundry only one day a week, and the rest of the week I don't have to even think about this laundry. I don't know, that's my tip. I know it's difficult to do sometimes. It's sort of like not very practical, but to me it works for me because I don't know, that's the way my brain works. Right. All right, my 4th question is actually a new question. I don't think I ever asked that any of the guests, but I'm just curious to know what you're going to say. So a lot of the dynamics when we become moms ourselves, a lot of stuff is coming up. And a lot of it is because of this unhealed relationships that we have with our own moms. So not every woman is a mother, but we are, every woman is a daughter. So I'm just curious to know how do you think your relationship with your mom helped to shape who you are today in the way you parent, mother, live, love, play, all of that?
Wow. That's
I
a
know it's a
loaded
big
question.
question. I know it is a loaded question. I'm just curious because it's, for me, in my journey to thrive, figuring out this relationship with my mom, it was a huge piece. So I'm just curious to know what you're going to say.
Yeah, that it is a huge piece. I love my mom to bits. She's shaped in so many ways who I am today, and she's an amazing grandma as well. I can always count on her to sing the kids songs or read them stories, and I'm very, very lucky to have that. But yeah, there are definitely pieces of how I parent that is not how she parented me, and it's been something that I've had to work through. And some of it I've had to even talk to her about a little bit, and some of it I just, I know she might disagree with me on certain things, but I hope I'm doing the right thing, taking the approaches that I am. But I know that she's a huge part of me, and there's a lot that I've been able to draw from how I grew up, and apply to my kids. And it's also been a learning experience to navigate those pieces where I might parent in a little bit of a different way, and that's okay. It really is, because we're not clones of our mothers. And we should give ourselves the permission to know that, and to parent in our own way and develop our own journeys. But something that has been difficult for me since becoming a mother, I think, is actually taking advice from my own mom. And it's something that I wish I would have been more open to in the beginning. And now I think as I feel more confident with motherhood and more comfortable, just sometimes succeeding, sometimes failing, I'm more open to advice from her and advice from other people, and really internalizing that advice, because it is very valuable. And but to a certain degree, I had to get a bit more secure in my own parenting style and ability, and that took some time. I'm still working on it. And but that experience and getting more secure with it has enabled me, I think, in a sense, to draw on even more the advice that my own mother shares with me, and some of the experiences that I had as a child with her parenting style. And that's been a really interesting journey.
I love that, Jodi. Thank you so much for being open and honest about this. From my work with women and mothers, this piece of our relationship with our moms, it's huge, and a lot of us are not aware of it, and we are not aware of the origin of where is my struggle coming from. Why am I such a control freak? Why am I trying, why do I have such, a strong anger problems? Or why am I so why do I have that tendency to retreat, or to just to that passive aggressive patterns of behavior? And a lot of that, at least that's what I see from my work with women, is it's coming from there. It's really, the way I see it is that in order to fully transition into an adult, that's what you need in order to raise human beings, you really first need to heal from your childhood. And a lot of us are not there.
Hmm.
And so that I see that as an important piece. So thank you so much for sharing. All right. So before I let you go, that has been such a great conversation. Tell us about the upcoming Reclaim Adventure in Your Mom Life Challenge. How can people sign up for it? And also, what are they going to get out of it?
Amazing. So I'm launching a challenge. It launches on Monday, actually. So I think that's the same day that this podcast will as well. But it's a
Monday. So it's March the 5th, 2018.
Yes, sorry, right? Monday, March the 5th. And if you sign up late, it's okay. You can get, I can send you, the previous day's challenges, and it'll just be a delayed 5-day challenge, which is fine. And the challenge is Reclaim Adventure in Your Mom Life. So it's for moms who have, again, like maybe given up that travel and adventure that they once had in their lives, or it's for moms who see value in it and want to incorporate it into their family lives. Or even if you're just interested, if you're kind of like, oh my gosh, that's way too much for me, but like, let me just see what it's about. It's for you too. And so this is going to be a really transformative 5 days where we're going to uncover like what's holding you back from having adventures as a mom. We're going to talk about mindset. We'll discover like how to make time for it. And we'll even get to set some adventure goals for you and your family. So this is, again, it's going to be a really transformative 5-day experience. You can sign up on my website, which is loveadventuremom.com/home. And it's just a quick little sign in with your name and email. And then the challenge will launch, and you'll receive updates for it via email and also in the Facebook group. The Facebook group is called Adventure Mom Tribe. So you can join there as well and have access to the challenge. And it's going to develop an amazing community with like-minded moms who can give advice, share experiences. And again, I'll be there as a resource to help and answer questions and also learn from everybody in the community. So it's going to be really great. Anyone who's interested should sign up, or feel free to get in touch with me to learn more.
I love that. And where can people find and connect with you other than the challenge?
All right. So other than the challenge, of course, you can email me at jodi@loveadventuremom.com. or connect with me on Facebook. Join the Facebook group, the Adventure Mom Tribe, or just Love Adventure Mom on Facebook will get you to my page. Or my name's Jodi Fried. So lots of ways to get in touch on Facebook.
Awesome. And I'll have all the links attached below in the show notes. Jodi, thank you so much for the work that you do, for raising your children with this beautiful sense of adventure. It really opens their mind opens their minds, but not only that, it actually strengthens their immunity. Because when we are allowing our kids to get dirty, we're actually strengthening their immune system, which is another bonus for you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the work that you do. And I wish you much, much success with this adventure.
Thank you so much, Dorit. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love the show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.